Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. First of 2021, looking for a fantastic new year. And I'm delighted to have Milton from LetsBid Property on today. Milton, are you well?
I'm very well, Simon. Yeah, good morning. Under the circumstances, yes, definitely.
Well, we kind of always, we just have a permanent asterisk, don't we, in terms of reiterating that, yes, there's other stuff going on, but it would take me 2 hours every day to start talking about what's going on in the wider world. So let's just let's deal with what we can control. Milton, fantastic to have you on the show, and indeed on the website as well. We're talking here today, title of the show, Let's Bid, the new way of buying and renting property. Got a couple of really interesting solutions from you. One in the auctions arena, one in the prospecting arena. Two different services, complementary in some ways, though. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about them now. But to kick us off, would you mind just giving us a bit of your background?
Yeah. So I left university and joined Barclays Bank, funny enough, and ended up getting institutionalized by Barclays. Absolutely loved working in a big corporate, learned a lot. And I left there to join a property development company where we developed probably 300 to 400 million in property assets in Zone 1, Zone 2, Central London as a shareholder director. Then left and set up my own business and equity and capital, where we have 3 or 4 different strands of what we do. We're one of the founding companies who actually knew what build to rent was many years ago now, and have deployed significant capital in that market. We're developers, property traders, we're all round property professionals really, and we've done hundreds of millions of developments and trades. And of course, I had a big soft spot for estate agents, a family owned estate agent when I was young. So at a young age of 12, 13 years old, going into the office, having a look at my aunties and uncles' business to see what they're doing, and absolutely loved it. So I've always had that passion for agency. I ended up becoming a shareholder in an auction company. We were punching above our weight, called Lansdowne Auctions. We were doing 50, 60 million pound a year in sales, and then quickly realised that there's a massive market here that's untapped, and you had great companies like I Am Sold, Patterson's, all taking advantage of this and doing very well. So we thought of LetsBid, kicked off developing the software, and here we are now. And LetsBid is one of my babies, should we say, that I absolutely love and got massive passion for. And we're here to really help estate agents get a cost-effective solution to enter the market.
Great. So give us a bit of background about your baby then. Talk us through LetsBid and what it's, why you created it. Again, you obviously mentioned there that you've got a lot of experience with property, but specifically what problems were you trying to solve with the LetsBid proposition?
Yeah, so bit of a story really. So I went to buy a property for myself personally. It was a quite a significant property. It was a family home. Went to buy it from an agent. I was always keep an eye out on the portals, having a look at prices dropping. And even though I owned an auction, I wasn't too familiar with the modern method of auction then, because I was tunnel visioned with traditional auctions back then. And then slowly you get to see what everyone else is doing. So when I went to buy a property, it dropped all of a sudden overnight by 15%. Went to speak to the agent. Great, said, right, I'm going to buy it. And he asked me for £100,000 fee. And I thought, wow, £100,000 is a lot of money to pay for a fee. And he explained how it all worked. And that's when I started understanding how the modern method of auction worked. But guess what? I walked out of that office, walked across the road to another estate agent, and bought another property, unfortunately, because it wasn't the fact I didn't like that property. It was the fact that I had a certain amount of cash available for mortgages, stamp duty, etc. And to put another £100,000 in wasn't what I wanted to do. So then I thought to myself, we can eliminate this, because it's a great solution. It's a great solution to be able to buy something and put a reservation deposit down and get a commitment from that seller to make sure that that property is yours, and then proceed. And it was fantastic. And so that's how LetsBid's come around. We've been through a good couple of years of developing, learning the market. Education is probably the big thing. We focused on the London market at the moment, and the London market was probably one of the most uneducated markets around that modern method of auction, because some of the suppliers at the moment have hit the north of the UK and have educated that market very well. Don't get me wrong, we're still on a massive journey. Everyone is, because people still don't realise that you don't have to have a dilapidated property or something that is literally falling to the ground to go into an auction. It can be a normal property, a normal sale. People just want that commitment, really. And normally, if someone's putting a financial commitment down, it means they're going to proceed. Yeah, and that's the big thing that we were trying to achieve, and we're achieving, and we're taking good tries of doing that.
And why do you think the North has adopted it quicker than obviously, as you quite rightly point out, the South?
I think there's a number of reasons. I think firstly, you've got two great companies up there who have really educated the market and really, really gone out there. I think the second thing is price point as well, because the prices in the North are a lot lower than the South. So all of a sudden, when you're saying to someone you've got to pay a £5,000-6,000 fee and you're doing £100,000 transaction, even though it's 6% of the transaction, it's still something that could be swallowed. Where in the Southeast, you were talking about an average transaction of £400,000, and you're asked to put £20,000 down, it starts changing. I think that's probably primarily the reason. The other thing is staff turnover as well. You've got a lot less staff turnover in the North, so it means that the estate agents who get educated on that system and how it works get the benefits and are there to keep providing them benefits for their customers. But we've got a lot more staff turnover in the Southeast, I see. So it needs a lot more education, should we say. But that's why we're here today with Kerfuffle, to hopefully see if we can educate as well what we're doing to our northern friends and colleagues up there to see what we can do.
Okay, and teach us through. Obviously, you've mentioned some of the great companies that are out there doing. So, how does the LetsBid proposition, compare with some of those more established brands in the auctions arena?
Yeah. So you've got some great companies out there who have already gone out and educated it, and I think that the main differences are, okay. So I think that the first thing is that we don't charge buyers fees, so we've eliminated that issue that we see. So if a buyer, so we've seen that a lot of the feedback we've had is that they come along, if you're going to have to put a £20,000 fee down, people just haven't got the cash. They've just about saved the deposit, just about saved for the stamp duty, and haven't got that extra bit of cash to put in. So we've eliminated buyer fees. We still take a reservation deposit. So the main difference between us is that deposit comes off the exchange money. So it means that if someone's putting down a 1%, 2%, 3% reservation deposit, that comes off their initial exchange when they do it. So it means you don't need that extra bit of cash to do it, but you still achieve the same result. You still get financial commitment. Still get financial commitment, which is probably one of the single biggest things. The other thing is that we don't take none of their fee. So we don't take none of the estate agent's fee at all. So they can charge whatever they like, as long as they agree that with their vendor, and that's it. The third thing is they have complete control. Yeah. So what our competitors realize very quickly is that they need to take control, because if they take control, they can make sure they manage that sell through, and they eliminate that education piece. We don't do that. We educate the estate agent to make sure they can manage that sell through themselves, which means they keep all their fee, and we can eliminate that process, and that's a big thing for us. But there's a lot of other benefits to that. The education the estate agent gets, the built of their own brand, they take their own leads, they manage it through, and it works. And that's kind of some of the massive differences between us and some of our competitors, and it works because. And don't get me wrong, we've had teething problems. Everyone does, and we very quickly fixed them. So the first problem we had, we thought that all estate agents have got great relationships with lawyers and they can go and get legal packs themselves, but it doesn't work like that. So we've now made partnerships with a company called Moving Legal, who provide no upfront costs legal packs for the estate agents' clients, and that works fantastic, because now the estate agents don't have to have difficult conversations with their vendors who really want to use this process but don't want to go and pay £1,000 for a legal pack. This way we can use Moving Legal, get a legal pack for the client, and get the property marketed and get it sold. And so all these little stuff that we're doing, and it comes on to the other thing. The other problem we had is that clients want stock, the estate agents want stock, and that's where we've launched our prospecting tool, which we can talk about a bit later. But there's all sorts of different stuff in the value chain that we're going to keep adding in and going through to make sure we keep adding that value. So there's another thing that we're doing at the moment called a probate tool. Phenomenal system that we've got, where we latch onto all the probate properties that are coming on in the UK market, and you get details of the executors and so on, where you can send letters across and start getting instructions there, because these are ideal auction lots. So we're doing a lot of stuff.
You help nurture that from that side of things as well. And it sounds to me, when you're talking about that there, to slightly pivot it away from the established players, is what they're giving a really hands-on service, obviously, which comes at it with a price point. What you're going at is a bit more of an Amazon kind of platform approach. You're giving the platform to be able to do this and taking a really small, almost, just a tiny click in terms of providing that actual platform for them. So this is for a very specific sort of agent, but it's really a land grab, isn't it? You're going after the volume here to make this work for people who want to tap into this valuable area.
Yeah, the big thing that we get is, what's the catch? They can't believe it when we're saying you get all this and it's that amount and you don't take none of the fee. The thing is, what's the catch? What's the catch? There is no catch. It's you keep your fees. You keep all your fees. We don't do it, but we help you manage that client. We help you manage that process, and we put so much stuff in the middle to make sure you don't have issues. And we're there all the time. We're there all the time to help you. But our ideal thing is to make sure we get you in a position where you can run the process yourself. And you're completely right. We give you the tools to be able to go and do it without having to give half your profits away.
Great. And what's been the feedback so far from the initial clients that have been using the service?
Yeah, we've had some great feedback. We've had great feedback. Probably one of the most important feedbacks we've had that I absolutely love was that an estate agent in North London went out for an instruction, okay? And he called us up and said, look, absolutely love LetsBid. And we said, why? What happened? He goes, look, I didn't get an auction instruction, but just because I could offer auction services, okay, I won the instruction over a big corporate because they said to me that if we can't sell in the normal way, we can put it onto an auction method and try and achieve a quick sale. And because of that, I won the instruction. In the end, he sold it by the traditional method, which is fantastic. And that's another big plus point with us. Okay, we don't tie no one in. So if they decide that they want to switch from an auction sale to traditional sale, they can do that anytime they want. And there's no penal penalties from us, where some of the other providers do. So once you agree to go into that auction group, and if you for any reason pull out the transaction, you have to pay penal clauses for coming out, and for the right reasons, because money's invested in to do that. With us, it's different. With us, we don't, because it's the estate agent's auction. It's their auction. So they decide what they want to do. And look, we always encourage them to take a reservation deposit and sell via the modern method of auction. Of course we do. But if for any reason they can't, then we don't mind. They can switch, do what they want, as long as their vendor's happy and that customer journey is the correct one. That's what we want.
That's great. And I mean, it's always nice to hear that validated as well by somebody on the website here. So excuse me while I just hide it for the moment. Have a sneaky drink of coffee if you can do while I just do this. We've got a testimonial on your landing page here from Scott Simmons Estates. Yeah. Go on to say, since using LetsBid property in the platform, we have gained instructions due to having an in-house auction with no fees to buyers, which has helped our vendors be able to sell in more than one way and not have to outsource to auctions companies. We've greatly enjoyed the recently released prospecting tool, which allows us to canvass for new business and build our brand at a fraction of the price compared to other similar services. The team's expertise and support have helped us grow our service. It's great to hear that from Delgit there over at Scott Simmons. So what I'm seeing there from what he's highlighting again is one of the key things here is you really shouldn't be losing the opportunity to at least get invited out on the basis of what you charge to you. When you get that type of vendor that says, look, we insist on knowing your fee, you can say, well, there is a way of doing this. There's no cost to yourself whatsoever.
Yeah. So I think the big thing for us is that we don't want to put off any buyers. Okay, yeah. Because if a buyer comes along and you've got a great property there, and that buyer really wants the property, but they can't buy it because they've got to pay an additional 4%, 5%, 6% in the fees. For me, it eliminates the whole purpose of an estate agent. We want to make sure we can sell a property to the right buyer for the right fee, okay, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're eliminating these buyers' fees. The estate agent's still earning relatively the same amount of money, whether they've done it via us or they've done it with one of our competitors. The difference is that the vendor obviously is getting a better price for their property. Yeah. And that's what's being achieved, and we're getting more buyers coming along. So it's great, and they're right. You're right in the first assignment. We're trying to get a mass audience here, yeah, and that's the reason we can do it for so cheap, yeah, because we're looking at a mass audience. We've got internal developers that in our team. We've got 3 developers that are working internally that are constantly innovating, constantly producing new stuff, and that's why we can deliver this for a certain price point, and we're going to commit to make sure it's affordable.
Great. And what's the sort of demographic of agent? What's your perfect client you're looking for at the moment?
So at the moment, our perfect client is an agent between 1 to 5 branches. That's the kind of market that we're looking at, because what we've realized is that that agent in the past has shunned away from going down an auction route, going down a prospecting route because of price. Because price, it's become very expensive to be able to go and do it. So we had an agent we took on recently in Twickenham, where they were working with a prospecting company and an auction company. They had 2 postcodes with that prospecting company, and they were paying around £600 a month, and that's just for the prospecting tool. And then they had a relationship with one of the auction providers where they were doing 3-4 sales a year, and that's fantastic for a company in the southeast. They were taking in fees of 40-50 grand a year on the back of that, so it's a great additional bit of income for them. And we've come along and we've cut their prospecting bill to just under 15% of that. So all of a sudden they're paying us 80 quid a month to have the postcodes there and to have the auction service. And they can't be thankful enough, because they're still carrying on. They're still sending out their canvassing letters that they were doing, and they're still attracting their auction listings. But this time they're in full control themselves, and they're avoiding these buyer's fees, which is what stopped them in the past, they're telling me, doing 6-7 sales a year rather than the 4 sales a year. So that's kind of a big thing for us.
I wish you all the very best. Start of the year. 2021 is going to be fantastic. So we all believe that. Once more again, Milton, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, and stay safe, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.